Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Suzanne, can you hear me? Paula, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Suzanne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Started here shortly. Brian, how you doing?
Great. Chantel's here with me. She's on the other side of the computer. So
Oh, okay. Hi, Chantel. I was looking at those bills that are in committee today, last night, and this morning. So,
yeah, we've got some updates on them.
okay, great.
A lot of things are moving fast right now. So as you know, that's how it
I
is.
know. I haven't heard from Greg. I hope he's going to join us, but we'll see. So we'll get started here shortly.
Well, I know that all the people on the budget committee they're holed up. They're in what they call the budget cave, trying to pound out numbers. So he might be involved in that. I don't know. There's a lot going on budget wise
Okay.
right now. Trying to
Okay.
get it ready to vote on for next week.
Okay.
I would like to understand, if we have time today, what Matt Halton was talking about on Tuesday with the short-term rental bill. And I know Galen Benions isn't gone very far, but he said there was something else that's been trying to come down
No,
past.
they're all dead. It's dead.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of beyond Galen's. Is there another one, Brian?
There was taught. There's not that I'm aware of. Galen's bill was the only one out there, and it's not going anywhere. It got held in committee yesterday.
Okay. Well, we'll start in a second. Mayor, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. And Ellen, can you hear me okay? Or maybe it's still connecting to your audio. Ellen, can you hear me okay now? You're on mute.
Do we know if Sean is planning on joining Tim?
I do not know. So I think we're fine to get started. Greg Curtis may not be joining us because they're in some pretty heavy budget discussions right now. So he may join or may not. I'm not sure at this point.
No worries. Well, I'm going to call to order our legislative update meeting for this morning. Today's Thursday, February 22nd. Paula, I should have asked if we're recording first.
Yes, sir, we are. We're good.
Okay, thank you. And so we've got our lobbyist Brian Allen with us. We do have a quorum. And so what I'll do is I'll turn it over to I don't know, Tim, if you want to go first, or Brian. I know I saw some headline this morning talking about the food tax or the sales tax on food is actually going somewhere again, and I'm really hoping that you'll have something, and that's not the case, Brian, because that would obviously negatively affect cities. But I don't know if you want to go first, Tim or Brian.
I think we can just go straight to Brian and Chantel. Chantel's there. You just can't see her as well. So
hi, Chantel, wherever you are. Brian, you're on mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. So good morning. Thank you. Just quickly, a lot of things in play right now. One of the there's still most of the effort that is impacting cities is around affordable housing and homelessness. We've been working with the league. Most of those bills are in a pretty good place right now. There's a new bill that came out, Senator Harper's bill on the first-time home buyer zone, and that when we talked about it at the league meeting on Tuesday, there wasn't language out. That language is out now, so you might want to take a look at it. What's that bill number? Harper's bill.
Oh,
Senate bill. We'll get that number for you. And that one's out there. It looks I mean, I know the league's been working hard on it. It looks like it's pretty close to where they wanted it to be. And then give some cities some options and flexibilities around affordable housing. The other bills of interest that I know 260. Oh, yeah, Harper's bill is Senate Bill 268. There were a couple of gravel pit bills that were running. The one bill by Representative Bolander is innocuous at this point, and the league is kind of in a neutral position on it. Casey Snyder's bill is in committee today, House Bill 502. That was the most draconian of all the bills. That is going to be shifted into a study item for the summer, so it's not going to do anything to change the law at this point in time. They're going to study the issues around mining over the interim, so that was expected. My conversations around that bill with people in the mining industry and with their sponsor, I think that was always his intent, is just to bring people to the table, and this bill is the vehicle to do that. So there'll be some discussion on, gravel pit expansions and other things over the interim. So that bill isn't going to do anything to change anything at this point. So that's good news. Gives us some time to really sit down and talk through what the issues are and what the right solutions are. So that's positive. There were the short-term rental bill. We can talk about that again just to be sure. So that bill went through a lot of iterations, and it got to a point where it really wasn't going to do a whole lot for the cities that already had short-term rentals. There weren't any enforcement provisions in it, so it wasn't super helpful. The Property Rights Coalition didn't like it because it didn't really, it made the short-term rental people jump through some hoops, but didn't really accomplish a lot from an enforcement standpoint. So the league was not real thrilled about it. Some of the cities were okay with it. Some of the cities, I talked to the chair of the committee, and his city didn't like the bill. So it just never could get enough legs to go anywhere. I've talked with the Property Rights Coalition, and they've agreed to sit down with me and others if there's anyone on the call that's interested in doing this. But they'd be happy to sit down and talk about how can we. They're willing to give up the prohibition on enforcing on the websites, using those as an enforcement tool, if they can get something in return. And I don't know what it is they would want in return. So I says, well, look, I'm always happy to have a conversation. So let's talk. So I'll see where that goes after the session. But they're interested, I think, in I think giving cities that have short-term rentals that are being done illegally tools to manage that, because they don't really want that either, because it hurts their cause. But I think on the other side of that, they want to have some permissions in cities that currently don't allow short-term rentals at all to allow for some. So it's going to be a kind of a back and forth thing. I don't know how far we'll get, but it's probably worth the conversation.
Well, if I may just interject, this is quite important to a number of my constituents in District 4, where there's likely the most short-term rentals as sheer numbers. So I would love to work with you, Brian, or frankly, put some of the brighter minds out of my district in conversation with you. As you could see in our last meeting, both Mark Macklis and Zach Uland are all about this short-term rental, as are others. Yeah. So if I'll just plan, maybe we can email or have a conversation, Brian.
Yeah,
what is the bill? What is the number on the bill that did make it through or is still alive with short-term rentals?
I mean, it's not really alive. It's HB 180, okay. Representative Benyon's bill, and I talked her at length about what really we wanted to see in that bill, and I think in her effort to want to get something passed, she kept watering it down and watering it down and watering it down, and got to the point where nobody was happy with it. So that's kind of what happened, unfortunately. Sometimes that happens in the legislative process. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You keep making changes, and pretty soon nobody likes the bill and it just dies. So that's kind of what happened to that bill. I think other bills of note, I know that there was a big issue with the stormwater bill that the league is still trying to work out. It was supposed to be heard in committee, but it didn't get heard. I think they're still working on trying to find a solution that makes sense. So we're working through that. I think pretty much, I mean, the affordable housing bills, and there's a number of them, are all right now in a place that I think the league is supporting, and they look positive. None of them are, mandates, but they're just tools that can be used to help create, opportunities to create more affordable housing. The governor's office, Steve Waldrop, has been, kind of he's the I guess the housing czar for the governor, and Steve's has done a masterful job of negotiating and working through the various interests that are out there and trying to come up with solutions. And there's some of them I think are going to be good solutions. Some of them I don't think are going to probably have much impact, but at the end of the day, we have to try some things to see if we can find a way to make housing more affordable. And I think the effort's been good, and the league has been really, really active on those bills. Cameron Deal is just he's masterful when it comes to negotiating the position of the cities and getting things in those bills that the cities need to have, and avoiding preemption, where that's possible. So those bills are all in pretty good shape. So I think right now where we are in the session is that there are still bills that are being drafted. We don't know what they all are. I mean, we're at 5 in the House. We're over 580. I think we're at 584 or 586 bills. There's a possibility we could hit 600 bills in the House for the filed bills for the first time in history, which would be kind of sad. So there's still a lot of bills being drafted, and there's still a lot of open bill files without language that we're watching. But none of them at this point, I don't think any of those that are getting done now are going to ever get through the process. It's just getting too late. By Tuesday of next week, bill has to pass out of its own House, and if it doesn't, then it can't be considered any further. So it's the Tuesday is kind of the crossover date. The last committee hearings are next Tuesday. So if it hasn't had a committee hearing, at least in one, it's supposed to have a committee hearing in both houses. They can suspend the rules if there's been one committee hearing. You can actually suspend the rules if there's been no committee hearing, if the bill's important enough, but you don't typically see that happen. So, I mean, most of the bills we're going to know, by Tuesday exactly what we're going to have to fight or support between, for the last 3 days of the session. I know they're going late tonight. They're going to have a floor time from 6 o'clock till as late as necessary. So today's going to be a long day. There's committee hearings. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But I would say that
Brian,
for the most part, the stuff that impacts the city is in a good place.
Thank you, Brian. So I wanted to recognize that Greg Curtis joined us as well. I do, for either of you, so is House Bill 101 going anywhere? So it moved out of committee on Tuesday. You guys, either of you know about that?
What is that bill? House Bill 101? What is
Well,
that?
that's the one that would remove the requirement for education for property tax.
Oh, right.
Which then would the whole purpose is so that they can remove sales tax from food, which is obviously a big deal for cities. So we don't know anything about House Bill 101. Any thought? Or Greg, you're on mute, Greg.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Yeah. So my understanding is that that's the companion bill with the constitutional amendment that'll be on the ballot this fall, because
Right.
they want to remove the earmark, and they're trying. And the idea, I think they actually passed the resolution to change the Constitution last session. It just has to be voted on this fall. And I think this is the companion piece saying, okay, this is what would happen if that constitutional amendment passes. And the enticement is if you remove the earmark, then they think that there's public support to remove the sales tax off of food. So don't know. I have not read 101, so I don't know exactly if they're talking about removing the city and county portion or just the rest of the state portion? Right? Because right now food is bifurcated between the city tax, the county, city 1, county 0.25, and the state 1.75. So I don't know if they're talking about lowering it to 1 1/4 or removing it completely. I just don't know.
Okay. So this might just be regulatory to get it to go to referendum this fall.
Yeah, it's actually, because the constitutional amendment with what they want to do is just remove the earmark. That has to be voted on. That's a state constitutional issue. So
Okay.
that will be voted on this fall.
Okay, great.
So may I just
Um,
understand, Mayor, I just want to understand, your concern is if the food tax on food is removed, that it will diminish the tax that we receive as a city, and that's why you are in favor of continuing the tax on food?
Well, we'd have to supplement it somewhere because it's a big portion of our sales tax revenue. So yeah, unless, and every city would feel the same way. So we couldn't just, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say it would be a significant hit to, and sometimes suburban cities like Cottonwood Heights, that would even be a bigger hit. Depending upon the makeup, if you have car dealerships, other things, it's not as big as a percentage hit, but it'll range anywhere from, it could be from 10 to 25% of your sales tax in your city could be grocery related. And that was one of the reasons when the sales tax on food was reduced to 3%. One of the ideas was leaving the cities and county portion alone at that time. And so, I'll have to go look at 101, but I would be honestly surprised because nearly every city and county would say we're vehemently opposed to this if you just take it out of the base without some way supplementing it.
So there's a possibility of, instead of wiping out the whole 3% tax on food, reducing it down and still cities and counties receiving a tax?
Yes. I mean, because the state portion left on food is 1.75, and they could just remove that. Then that only affects the state budget. Whereas and then food would be 1 1/4, and it would just be distributed to the cities and counties as currently done.
I think that's what the proposal, if I remember the discussion from last year on this, the proposal was just to remove the state portion of the tax because the earmark only impacts state funds at this point in time. But I'd have to go look at it and see. Honestly, that hasn't even been talked about in any league meeting, or it's just
if it took it, I just have to imagine having been involved in some of the original fight on the sales tax on food. I could just tell you the league would be losing their mind. Everybody would have their hair on fire and be running around if it took it away from them. Okay, because I experienced that. So but I can't speak from a point of knowledge. I have not looked at 101. So
Greg's still suffering from PTSD from that.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, I won't delve into it. Okay, Mayor, can I interrupt and just talk briefly? I have a meeting upstairs with with Representative Spenlove I need to get to on a budget issue. We're still looking good. There's for at least the 2 items, the public safety out of the Cottonwood Canyons Fund, and $1.5 million or so in the for the either roundabout. It sounded like your public works director might have a different concept than a roundabout. I don't know, but for traffic improvements on 70 on Fort Union and 23rd, or in that general area. So that's still looking good. There's still a whole lot in play on the budget right now. So
great. That's awesome. Thanks for that.
Okay, I'm gonna jump off because I gotta get upstairs.
Thanks, Greg. Go do your thing.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. Okay, thanks, members. Bye.
Bye. Okay, any other questions from the council for Brian?
I do. I wanted to know if Brian knew the status or could give any input on 3 bills related to transportation. House Bill 449, which pertains to bicycle safety, being mandated to be considered in street design. And then there's a House Bill 345 that is 5 times the current fine for speeding in school or construction zones. And thirdly, House Bill 201 related to allowing speed cameras within our system to enforce speeding, fines and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Or I should say enforcement.
we're pulling those up right now. So let me tell you.
So HB 449
Yeah.
is.
I know the first two that you mentioned, I believe there's been, the league is supporting and has that support.
So 449 is out of
working.
the House. It's
Going to.
It's
going
going-
to Senate
it's going to the Transportation Senate Committee, so it'll get heard probably in the next day or two. And then I don't see that one not passing. That seems to have support. The bicycle safety one, 345.
So 345 is on Senate second reading.
345 is already passed out of the House, out of the Senate committees on second reading in the Senate. So that one's probably going to make it through the process.
And then
201.
201, there's a sub and it has not been heard by the House Transportation Committee yet, but it's been
Okay.
sent there.
So right now, the 201 is still in the House Transportation Committee, so it hasn't gone very far. So there is a substitute bill out there. But I have to dig into it. I don't really know. I haven't followed that one closely. But we can look at it for sure. But I can give you an update.
So the ULCT right now hasn't really taken a stand on 201.
No, that they're supporting
supporting it.
201.
The legislature
So
hasn't.
So ULCT supports 201, 345, and 449.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, the league supporting all those. 201, I don't know why it's hung up. I mean, it doesn't. There's got to be something going on internally with that bill, because I haven't heard any opposition out in the halls about it at all. So I'm surprised it hasn't gone further.
Thank you. Thank
You never
you.
know. There's always some quirky things that go on. So we have to dig into the backstory.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the updates.
Okay. So if there aren't any other questions for Brian, thanks, Brian. And one more week and maybe life will get a little bit back to, well, I don't know if that's normal or if this is normal for you. So,
Yeah, it's always kind of chaotic, but it's good. It's what I do. I mean,
yep.
I don't have stuff going on in Utah. I got something somewhere else. So it's
There you go.
always busy. Never slows down too much.
There you go. Well, thank you, everybody. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our legislative update meeting.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye now.
Yeah.
Hope you are able to include a vigorous walk within your busy day. Period. Love you. Oh my.